What is a sales quote and what is a purchase order? And how do they relate to each other? Sales quotes only come from the vendor. A customer never issues a sales quote in its role as a customer. And a seller never issues a purchase order in its role as a seller. Sales quotes always originate from sellers. Purchase orders always originate from buyers. A sales quote outlines the terms that the vendor is proposing to sell something to that potential customer. So it typically is written in a variation of I, the seller, will sell you, the buyer, 20 widgets for $20 each and deliver them by Tuesday. When you look at a purchase order issued by a customer, at its core, it says, I, buyer, agree to purchase from you, seller, 20 widgets for $20 each to be delivered by Tuesday. Now, these two documents have the very similar terms or at least cover the same subject matter. So which set controls? Whose document is going to determine what that is? To figure out the battle of sales quote versus purchase order, you have to understand the core concepts of offer and acceptance in contract law. This is so critical. If you don't understand offer and acceptance, you can't understand how to work with sales quotes and purchase orders. The basic rule of contract law is a contract is formed when there's offer, acceptance of that offer, and consideration. Consideration is value. That doesn't really come up for commercial transactions. We're going to focus on offer and acceptance. And I want to step away from the sales quote and purchase order framework and talk about a simpler transaction. And the classic one I always use is painting my house. I have a painter, he's standing on my sidewalk. He says, I will paint your house for $10. Do you accept? He's made an offer. I say, yes, I heard the offer. I accepted it. We've now got a binding contract. Yes, it's oral, other issues, but we're going simple here. Now, what if the painter says, I'll paint your house for 10, and I say, how about $5? Is the proposal a whole new offer that starts this game over again? Or is the proposal a counter offer that doesn't restart the offer process, that just tweaks one little term? This is an issue of fact. I can't tell you across all your documents what is an offer, what is an acceptance. Honestly, even after you've done these sales quotes and purchase orders, it may be hard to say conclusively which one was the offer, which was the acceptance. We set up our business process so that we have clarity around that. And that's why we have a lot of the processes we do in purchasing and procurement groups is to control that story and make sure that we're clear on what is in our contract. Whether you're a seller or a buyer, you are trying to control the narrative of whose contract terms are controlling. Because if I make an offer and you accept it, now my terms control. If I make an offer and you reject it and you make a new offer and then my actions deemed to accept your offer, then your terms control. And so when we talk about battle of the forms, what we're really doing is having this back and forth with each side trying to control those terms. It's so important to manage communication between a vendor and a seller. What we are really doing with sales quotes and purchase orders is trying to control the story. We're trying to control the story of what is the deal that we have done. If the seller has different things in its quote from what the buyer has in its purchase order, now we have two different stories of this transaction. We have two different sets of terms. Now we've got to reconcile those and figure out which one is really, at the end of the day, the transaction that we're doing.